The ironic slogan on
Yeah.
the bag is "Thank you for shopping with us," but you know that bird isn't really too thankful about being in that.
Yeah.
Hey guys, welcome to the video. I'm Dean. You're tuned into photomanipulation.com, and today we're going to take you beyond the Photoshop basics. So we have an artwork today by our own Clinton Lofthouse, and this is an artwork designed to raise awareness for both Turn Off the Plastic Tap campaign and TEAMSEAS. Clinton, can you tell me a bit about Benjamin Von Wong's challenge and why you created this piece, please?
Yeah, so Benjamin Von Wong has started a campaign called Turn Off the Plastic Tap. And what he did is he asked to select a few photo manipulators or photographers to get involved and create some images using I would call it like an installation that I built for a shoot. So it's basically an installation of a giant tap with loads of plastic coming out. So he give all these photographers those the images of the plastic tap, and then he wanted us to create images around that.
Excellent. So I looked at the website earlier on. It was really cool how he built that art installation and created the kind of visual concept, a really, really powerful visual motif. And then what did he do? Did he give you that asset to work with to
give us a few assets, like different angles and different shots of the tap and the plastic, and then he just said just go away and then create your own version of Turn Off the Plastic Tap.
The really cool thing about this piece is that it coincides with Mr. Beast and Mark Rober's TEAMSEAS campaign. I believe it's the biggest creator collaboration in the history of mankind. Loads of YouTubers are doing videos. So I thought I'd combine the two. Benjamin Von Wong, he wants to reduce single-use plastics at the source. And Mr. Beast and Mark Rober, TEAMSEAS campaign, they want to clean up the trash that's already in the ocean. So a very noble cause for both those campaigns. And let's talk a bit about the artwork. So you got the prompt. What was your original ideas that you wanted to?
Yeah, so as soon as I saw it, for me, when I think of plastics, I always think about all the pollution in the sea. And like even when I go down to the beach sometimes near me, I see there's random bits of plastic floating around sometimes, or there'll be bits of plastic on the beach. So for me, I felt like that was like one of the main things that I wanted to kind of focus on. So I wanted to focus on when you go abroad, you get these boat trips and you go out to see whales. And I thought, well, what if when a family went out to see these whales, that there was just plastic all in the sea, and it was even though it looks quite dramatic, that to them it would be normal because it's been normalized because there's so much in the sea and they're just used to it now. So I kind of went for a nice commercial look as well, so quite bright colors and quite bright, just to represent that commercial feel.
Yeah, because it has like a billboard campaign look to it, the kind of thing that you could see on a
so I wanted that to contrast against actual, like the kind of how crazy it is that there's all this pollution in the sea.
Yeah, and I like what you said there, the fact that it's been normalized as well. And as artists, we can use skill sets to raise awareness for these types of causes. So let's talk a bit about the technical aspects of this piece. So I've seen a number of different compositing methods in play here. Can you talk a bit about how you composited the kids and the dad there and the other bits?
Yeah, so basically I just scoured Adobe Stock for stock images, found this one of the boat here. It was quite hard to find ones of people sightseeing on a boat. So I found this one, but then I had to make a few adjustments. I had to warp the arms of the child a little bit. I had to create the top of the hat for the dad because his head was cut off. And then obviously I started bringing in the other elements of the sea life, so that we had the whale, which was against a white background, and we've got the bird here, which is I believe a crane, maybe. Too sure. I'm
sure someone in the comments will tell you, mate.
Yep. I nearly said pelican, but it's not a pelican. I think they have like a bigger beak. But so I wanted to bring some sea life into it as well. So here I'm using the pen tool. So the reason I'm using the pen tool on this one is because we've got quite a light color bird against a light background, so it would be hard to use color select or even the magic wand tool. So for me, it was just it was back to using the dreaded pen tool again.
And for the guys watching, can you say why that could potentially be an issue, the light background and the light colored object for using?
Yeah, because a lot of Photoshop or select tools work by contrast.
Yep.
So like if you've got something dark against something white, it works very well. But if you've got something cream colored against something white, it's not going to pick up very easily. So you're not really going to be able to cut it out that well. It's just easier just to do it yourself with a pen tool.
And not only that, the edges could potentially be quite jagged as well, and not perfect. And when you're doing this type of editorial artwork, which is, I think this is more editorial artwork, then you want things to be crisp. You want the production value to be high.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you use an auto select tool for that bag?
So as you can, I used select color, so because the bag was against black. Again, you've got the contrast there, so it's easy to then use color select and just select the black and then just delete the black out of it, and it leaves all the lighter pixels.
No, this element that you're doing here is actually my favorite aspects of the overall image, because of the ironic slogan on the bag is thank you for shopping with us, but you know that bird isn't really too thankful about being in that predicament.
I thought that was a nice little touch, because I had the idea of having the bird with the plastic, what you get on plastic cans, wrapped around its feet, and then I thought, I can maybe put a plastic bag over its beak, and then I was just looking for plastic bags, and I've seen that one with that quote on. I thought, that's quite blends in quite
really
nicely
does
with the theme,
fit the overall theme and concept of this piece, and it's quite a complex piece. You've got a lot of different elements going on here.
Yeah, obviously I wanted some plastic bottles in there as well, but I thought I'll put them in the foreground. And then sometimes my workflow's organic, so I'll be thinking of ideas whilst I'm still actually editing, hence the bag one. But yeah, I think the bag tied it in quite nicely with consumerism as well, because that's what I was thinking. We all think about consumerism when it's kind of, we want this and we want that and we want everything to be easy and we want what we want, but then we don't think about the negative effects of consumerism. Like, where does all the waste go from all these? So if you buy a toy, where does all the plastic go after? You just throw it in the bin, but where does it go from there? Do you really
exactly that? And when I was reading Benjamin von Wong's website earlier on, he mentioned how it's even more of a problem in developing countries because they don't have the infrastructure to clean up these plastics. And another thing, when I was watching the TEAMSEAS video, I think it was Mark Rober's one, they was in the Dominican Republic, and the people that live in the slums or the favelas, they're literally just throwing the trash out the back window or down the hill, and you can just see these huge kind of landslides of rubbish going directly into the river. Yeah,
it's crazy. It's very worrying. And to be fair, you say developing countries, but the thing is that our government have been shipping off plastics to third world countries just to get rid of it. So I mean, we're not doing a good job of getting rid of plastics either. We're just sending it to another country.
The good thing is your son's generation and my stepson's generation, I think they're way more clued up on a lot of different issues. I think I know they get a lot of stick, millennials and kids or whatever, but I do think that they're more evolved than what our generation was. What do you think?
I hope so, yeah. I definitely. I mean, it's their world. It's going to be their world, isn't it? So I mean, obviously they're going to be a lot more bothered by. Well, I mean,
we're old goats, mate. We're over the hill now.
It's going to affect them a lot more than it's going to affect us. So I think also by just kind of instilling that into them in a young age, that you need to look after the planet. We need to be wary, otherwise everything's going to, we might not have that long left on this planet if we carry on.
That thing that you just did with the curves, where the colours went weird, can you explain that to me, please? Everything went grey and there were little patches of red and stuff. What's
I was probably looking at the hue and the hue or the saturation. So I was using the full check and just checking the saturation and all the different elements.
And really quickly, you used a really nifty trick there for creating the netting around the whale. Very fast, very quick and dirty. Can you explain a bit on how you did that, please?
I believe that I just used it was against a white background, so I put it on, I think it was either luminosity or
it was multiply.
The multiply, that's the one, yeah. So when you use multiply is the opposite to screen. So if you have something against a white background, if you put it on screen, the white disappears and just the dark stays. Well, multiply does the opposite. It'll keep the dark part and get rid of the light.
Because that net would have been a nightmare to composite, even if you're using a quick selection tool.
Yeah, you can do so much with blending tools. and it
But
saves a lot
saying
of cutting
that, a
out.
good trick that I learned was blend if for knocking out whites. Amazing trick.
Yeah. Blend. I use
Really
blend diff.
powerful.
Yeah, I use blend diff in a lot of images.
And you can rasterize that layer and have it as a pixel data instead of having it as a multiply, because when you set to multiply, it will react differently with the pixel data underneath. I know this sounds a bit technical, guys, but we are a beyond the Photoshop basics channel, so we do get into the nitty gritty of things.
Yeah, blend modes. I would suggest people play around with them as well, because sometimes you get results what you didn't think you would get, and it can lead to better images.
That's half the fun, isn't it? I remember the first couple of years of using Photoshop, and it was just cycling through blend modes and
I
doing
miss those
crazy
days
psychedelic
of experimenting and just like seeing wonder what'll happen if I do this.
Yeah. You had more. Is this so? Your favorite function, I think, is curves. Can you say why you use curves more than anything else? Of all the tools available, why curves?
I just think it's easy to use and it's versatile. You can pretty much use it for anything. You can use it for tone, you can use it for color, you can use it for dodge and burn. You can, I mean, there's probably loads more things you can use it for, probably pulling out details. But I think when I first started learning Photoshop, I remember people saying curves is what you should use, but it's quite technical. So I thought, oh, well, I'm going to learn curves and then I'll be able to
start as you mean to go on.
So I just learned it straight away, and then from then on, I've just used it all the time.
Yeah, and you seem to have better mastery of curves than anyone else in the PM team. I see you use it more often than any of us.
Yeah, I mean, because there's a lot of people, when I see videos on YouTube, they use about 5 different adjustment layers just to do the color and the tone. When all you need is one.
Shots fired. That's me, man.
you can just do it with one. You just curves.
You can do it if you can get your head around it. But I was talking to Christian Bensalan on another video, and he was saying that he's like me. He does use dirty old levels quite a lot.
Yeah, levels is good. Levels is basically the same as curves. You just don't have as much control.
Yep, and we are fully aware that curves is the way to go, but everybody's got their own little go-tos, haven't they? Their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
There is no ultimate right and wrong, really, for anything in this software. It's the net result. It's what you finish with.
Yeah, it's the end result, not how you get there.
Yep, absolutely. Shadow action. You seem to be going manual for this.
Yeah, I just thought I'll paint it in myself, so I just painted it on with a blank layer with a black brush. And
do you do anything to that black, or did you have black with a tinge of blue because of the scene? Explain a bit.
Yeah, I think I did a curves adjustment and just put a little bit of blue into the shadows, obviously, because we're by the sea. The sea's blue. The color of the blue would be reflecting.
Well. The overall ambience of the scene is blue, isn't it? Really?
But also, if you're by the sea as well, the color of the sea, the blueness, obviously, is reflecting this. The sea's reflecting the sky, but also the sky blue would be reflecting on anything what's in the water. Yep.
That's one thing I say about you photographers, is you have a real great understanding of lighting and color. That's very different to people like me that are just pure digital artists. Our world is in the pixels on a computer screen, but you guys interpret color and lighting in a different way. I spoke to Nicole York the other day, and she's quite similar in the way she approaches things as to what you do.
Yeah, I think most photographers slash composite artists slash photo manipulators probably thinking in the same way. If you started off with a camera, that's how you're gonna see the world, by how you would think you would see it through a camera.
Can you talk a little bit about these small lighting overlays that you incorporate, mate? Why you're doing it, what you're using?
Yeah, so I obviously, because it's a commercial image, a lot of commercial images, ones like this, always have like lens flares and some light leaks in, and I thought it would just add a bit of nice contrast to the image as well. So basically, I used a varying amount of lens flares and overlays here. I think I might have used some from the NeoStock effects,
ultimate lighting effects.
Yeah,
I can see some here.
Yeah, so this is the light leaks now, so I'm just getting a little bit of a color.
Okay. The thing about lighting is when you bring in these little flourishes, it does make it look more tactile and realistic.
Yeah, and it just blends all the elements around together as well sometimes.
Yeah, unifies it. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can unify with what we call post-processing, is
Mm.
when you've done the overall composite and then you start tweaking. Some people use selective color, some people use curves. You've got
Yeah.
quite a few go-to post-processing techniques.
Yeah, I tend to use a lot of light leaks and lens flares, and I like a nice color grade as well.
Yeah, good old color grade. I'm kind of experimenting more these days. I saw Abby Esparza's videos on using the LUTs, and she builds them up incrementally, little bit by little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Really
I've seen
clever,
that.
man.
Yeah, yeah, it was different for sure. Yeah,
Should I tell you who's getting really good? That's Matt Seth Barnes. His color game is really stepping up.
yeah, yeah. I've seen his recent image, which was really cool as well.
I was impressed by that, but I've had a look at some of the PSDs, and he does
Mm.
similar to what Abby does, and he builds up those LUTs
Mm.
incrementally. I've never really got my head around that.
Yeah, I guess it feels like you've been more experimenting what each look does on top of each other that way. Where I kind of, when I go for my color grading, I kind of know what I'm going for.
Yeah,
Like,
because you have that kind of repertoire, you know in
yeah,
your head, I want this result, this is how I get it.
yeah,
And you can remove the experimentation
yeah. I mean,
out of the
sometimes
process.
I'll do different color grades, and I'll have them in groups, and I'll turn one off and turn one on and see which I prefer. But yeah, um, I don't really use LUTs, to be fair. I might start trying to play around a little bit and
Yeah, you get
see
some
what I can
really
come up with.
nice results. Right,
Mm.
we've got the classic Clinton Lofthouse dodge and burn process here. Why are you dodging and burning this overall composite?
Just to add a little bit more contrast to the image. As you can see, I was doing it a little bit too much, so I do tone it down a little bit.
Yep.
But a lot of commercial images have that painterly kind of feel. So bright colors, very contrasted details. So I was just trying to pull out some of them in I think in the people, and then I do a little bit on the bird. So in
Yep.
this image, I only do it on the areas that I want to pull out a little bit, pull out the detail of, or stand out.
One phrase that I use for these is focal elements or focal
Yeah,
points.
yeah,
So
definitely.
focal elements or focal points are the most important aspects
Yeah,
of a
it's always
composition.
like, yeah, and like image hierarchy as well in
I love that
composition.
word. Image
Yeah.
hierarchy. I'm stealing that one. Future videos.
Yeah, because you basically want the viewer's eye to go from one thing to another to another.
What was
And
that really
you,
cool word that you had for when things go in the background and they become more faded and less saturated? You had the best phrase, and I always forget it. I want to
aerial
look good on the
perspective.
videos.
Aerial
Aerial
pers-
perspective.
yeah,
And
that's one of the technical terms for it.
just give us a very quick rundown on what aerial perspective is. I know we
So it's
talk about it all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically when you look at the landscape, if you can see in the distance for quite far, as the
Yep.
landscape goes further back, it'll, because of the atmospheric particles and the haze and
Haze.
things. Yeah, the mountains or the hills will look less contrasted the further you go back, and eventually it depends how far they go back, but then it'll just be like you'll get like a very pale atmospheric haze as well in
So
the
a good
distance.
example is if that kind of triangle trash pile behind the bird's head
Yeah.
was closer to us, those blacks would be a lot deeper and a lot richer.
Yeah, definitely. So that's why, and that's how you can create depth in an image, just by pulling down the contrast and putting it in the distance. And again, it's just mimicking real life. So when you look in real life at something, your eye can tell the depth of field and the distance. So when we're creating images, we want to try and mimic that in our photo manipulations by matching the same kind of contrast tones and the aerial
And a
perspective.
lot of this game, especially the editorial composites like what you're doing here, is mimicking reality.
Yeah, definitely. I tend to, yeah, I would say I tend to lean towards a little bit of realism in my images, even if they are fantasy or completely bonkers.
Well, your overall style is cinematic style. And as we wrap this one up, Clinton, can you talk a little bit about your Nick collection process?
Yeah, so basically I only use detail extractor or bleach bypass, but I use bleach bypass sometimes just to pull some details out in the blacks.
Yep.
So if you do your bleach bypass and then you put it on luminosity, it just affects the tones, not the color. So then you can just lower the opacity and it just brings out those darks and the contrasty darks in the image a lot more.
Excellent. Okay, so that's a wrap for this one, guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Clinton, thank you so much for sharing your
No
workflow
worries.
today. And guys, for both of these causes, Turn Off the Plastic Tap campaign and Mr. Beast and Mark Rober's TEAMSEAS campaign, hit the links in the description and see how you can participate. That'll do it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Catch you the next one. See you then.
Peace.